would like it if y'all could see my head. Okay. Oh, hey, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're gonna be making the easiest recipe for bread you have ever seen. I started making bread earlier this year. I don't know, I just had this thought and I was like, what if I made bread? And I did, and it turned out really well, actually. Alrighty, let's get into it. We're gonna start off with our dry ingredients, starting with 3 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of dry yeast, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to add in hot water. You want this to be very warm so that the yeast is able to activate. As you're mixing, you want to be careful not to make it too moist, but you may need to add in little bits of water as you go. Wet dough isn't the end of the world, but it is harder to deal with. Cover that in saran wrap and put it in a cool, dry place to rise. I can't tell if I'm overexposed, but the answer is probably yes! Let that mess rise for the next 3 hours at least. You can go up to around 7, wouldn't go past that. In the meantime, while you're waiting for the bread to rise, you can do a couple different things. It's nice because there's no grass. In case you are wondering, I really do have my whole essay right here. Oh, hey! So the bread has been now rising for approximately 6 hours. Because I forgot about it, we're gonna move on to phase 2 and bake it. You're gonna want to generously flour your work surface, and I mean generously, especially if you know you added in too much water while you were mixing the dough. Your dough will be even more sticky than usual. Give the dough a couple good folds, 10 to 12. This isn't really kneading, but folding it a couple times is going to build up the elasticity. After a couple turns, go ahead and plop it back in the bowl and cover it with a towel for the second round of rising. So now we're gonna let that sit. I really just spent like 20 minutes trying to get that transition to look like an Alton Brown transition, and I already know that none of them turned out. This is the most important rise for our little bread. It's very specific. You wanna leave it in a dry place to rise while your oven's preheating for at least 30 minutes, but not more than 40. The sweet spot is gonna be in those 10 minutes to put it in the oven and get it baking. It's probably not as dramatic as I make it to seem. Like if you go over 40, it's probably fine, but at least hit the 30-minute mark. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees and make sure you have a rack in the middle of your oven and one right below it for your cupcake tin. You're gonna fill your tin with water so that while we put it in the oven beneath the bread, the steam from the water is going to help it bake. Go ahead and put that in while the oven is still preheating so it's simmering by the time we put the bread in. Get a pan, doesn't have to be a pizza pan, put some parchment paper on it and plop your dough right on. When you put your bread in the oven, you should see that the water in your cupcake tins are already simmering. Set a timer for 30 minutes and wait. Would you look at that bread? Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Whew! She do be pretty dough. Move your bread to a cooling rack. Be careful, it is incredibly hot. It's very hot. You can eat it right then and there, fresh out of the oven for some nice warm bread, but if you want to store it, go ahead and put it in a Ziploc bag after it's all the way cool.